now it is worthwhile to move on to the next section, that is international documents and the provisions contained in international documents pertaining to popular form of government. First of all, let us refer to Universal Declaration on Human Rights, Article 21. Now, if we read Article 21, that says everyone has the right to take part in the government of his country directly or through freely chosen representatives. Clause 2 says everyone has the right of equal access to public services in his country. And thirdly and importantly, that the will of the people shall be the basis of the authority of the governments. This will shall be exercised in periodic and genuine elections, which shall be by universal and equal suffrage and shall be held by secret vote or by equivalent free voting procedure. Thus, Article 21 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights very clearly lays down that the government, the form of government in countries should be democratic form of government, where people have the right to choose their own representatives, to be governed indirectly by their own representatives, and also that the elections which are to be held for choosing the representatives of the people, they should be genuine elections. The will of the election should be held periodically. The article talks about that everyone should be having the right to vote regardless of his sex, his community, religion, caste, creed. Everyone should be having the right to vote, and the vote of every person should be equal. The vote, it should not be that one person's vote is entitled to greater weight than the vote of another person. And then it declares that the voting should be by secret manner, in such a manner that the people are not subject to any discriminations because they have voted for a particular party. Now, moving on, International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, Article 1966, Article 25. It declares that every citizen, now you contrast this with the Article 21 of UDHR. Article 21 UDHR said everyone, whereas ICCPR 1966 Article 25 says every citizen. Therefore, the rights guaranteed in ICCPR, they are limited to citizens, whereas the Universal Declaration spelled out the rights of every person, whether he is a citizen or he is not a citizen. Now, proceeding further, it says every citizen shall have the right and the opportunity, without any of the distinctions mentioned in Article 2 of this ICCPR, and without reasonable restrictions, to take part in the conduct of public affairs, directly or through freely chosen representatives. Therefore, we find that Article 25 of ICCPR, which is a document ratified by our country also, adopted by various countries, that clearly lays down that every citizen has a right to take part in the conduct of public affairs, directly or through representatives. That means it talks about direct or representative democracy, and it ensures that every citizen is given the right to choose his representatives. And also it declares that every citizen shall have the right and opportunity to vote and to be elected at genuine elections, which shall be universal, and equal suffrage to be held by secret vote, guaranteeing the free expression of the will of the electors. A plain reading of Article 25 suggests that it talks about that right to vote shall be granted to all, and then every vote should be equal. Every person's right vote shall carry equal weightage, and that all, regardless of their region, caste, community, language, they shall have the right to vote. And it also lays emphasis on that elections through which the people have to exercise their will, they have to exercise their representatives, they should be genuine. Further, it also talks about, like its predecessor, like its counterpart in UDHR, that expression of the will should be through by secret vote, so as nobody is discriminated only for the reason that he has voted for a particular party. Now, let us see position prevailing in some other countries. To begin with, let us see the position in US. Article 4, Section 4 of the United States Constitution provides that the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a republican form of government. Now, you see, the peculiar thing about this clause of Article 4, Section 4 of the US Constitution is, it is not saying a democratic form of government, it is saying everyone, the United States shall guarantee to every state in this union a republican form of government, which implies that the head of the state is chosen by people directly by way of elections, and that if we look at medicine papers, we find, especially paper 10 and 39, we find that he has attempted to define a republican form, and whereas he has said that it is a form of government where the people have the right, they have their rights which are protected. Every individual has the rights, whether he is having a distinct culture, whether he is a person belonging to majority, whether he is a person belonging to minority, every person has a right. That kind of government where the nominal head, where the head is elected, head of the state is elected by the people, that kind of government where the rights of people are protected, that kind of government where there is no majoritarian rule, rather the rights of minorities are also protected under the Constitution. That's what the United States Constitution contemplates. If we look at the decision of the Supreme Court in Calder versus Bull of the US, we find that a republican form of government is a form of government which is dedicated to the basic principle that governments are elected, they are created to safeguard fundamental rights, emphasizing the point that the republican form of government must protect the fundamental rights of the people. And similarly, if we look at Van Sickle versus Shanahan, again the Kansas High Court, dealing with the republican form of government, declared that separation of powers is an inherent and integral element of the republican form of government. Now, if we look at the provisions or the position in Australia, we find that a republican form of government, which under the Constitution, United States shall guarantee to every state, includes not only the democracy, but also it contains safeguards against majoritarian rule. Now, let us have a glimpse of what French Constitution has to say. If you look at the French Constitution, Article 3, it provides that national sovereignty shall rest in the people, who shall exercise it through their representatives and by means of referendum. That means Article 3 of the French Constitution talks about representative form of government as well as pure democracy, where people can vote on a particular issue by way of referendum. It also talks that basically the sovereignty lies in the people, the power emanates from the people who exercise it through elections, which of course are held periodically. Then the article goes on to say that no section of the people nor any individual may arrogate to itself or to himself the exercise thereof. Now you see that the next clause is saying suffrage may be direct or indirect as provided for by the Constitution. It shall always be universal, equal and secret. Now, universal suffrage, equal suffrage, both these doctrines have been embodied in the French Constitution, meaning thereby that everybody should be entitled to vote, and the vote of everybody should be alike, should be equal, not that one person belonging to one community, his vote shall carry greater weight than the vote of another community. And most importantly, this clause is also talking about that secrecy of voting must be maintained. To whom a person has voted, that must always be maintained, that must always be kept secret, because if it is not kept secret, a person may be subjected to vagaries of the chosen government, because they may see if this particular person has not voted for us, naturally he may be subjected to some sort of discrimination. That is why all international documents, that is why the international provisions contained in various constitutions, they talk that the vote, it should be kept secret to whom a person has voted. Now, moving on, if you see further Article 3, it says all French citizens of either sex who have reached their majority and are in possession of their civil and political rights may vote as provided for by statute. Therefore, this clause talks about universal adult franchise and equal suffrage. That means all those persons who have reached the age of majority shall be entitled to vote without any discrimination. It must be remembered here that not only that the French Constitution talks about that every person has got a right to vote. If we look at various constitutions, we find that people, everybody has equal right to contest elections also, which is also part of this democratic and republican form of government. Now have a look at German provisions contained in the German Constitution. If we look at Article 20, Clause 1, which provides that Federal Republic of Germany shall be democratic and social welfare state. Thus, the Constitution itself declares the German Constitution to be a democratic constitution. Article 20 clause 2 that reads, all state authority is derived from the people and it shall be exercised by the people through elections and other votes and through specific legislative, executive and judicial bodies. Plain reading of Article 20 suggests that not only the German constitution is a democratic constitution, but then it also very clearly lays down that the power, the sovereignty of the state is derived not from some emperor, not from some outside authority, but from the people, and it is exercised by the people either directly or through representation. That means representative form of democracy.